Today we'll be talking about using classes and objects along with different variable types. So an object is an instance of a class. But that leaves us to wonder, what the heck is a class? Well, a class is a user-defined data type. So let's review data types real quick. We have several different kinds of data types. We have strings, which we know to be as things encapsulated in double quotes. We have ints, which are numbers. We have floats, which are decimals. Then we have characters, which are like strings, but they're a single character, like symbol, space, letter, number, encapsulated in single quotes. Oh, that's not a quote. And then we have Boolean, which is true or false. And remember, we can write true or false as 0 or 1. Okay, so those are the data types that we know. Strings, integers, floats, characters, and Boolean. But what if we want to have our own little data type that uses these that we want to manipulate? Well, an instance of that might be that I'm a teacher, and I want to write my own little program where I know the student's age, their name, their grade, their favorite color, maybe like a beginning of the year, get to know your students kind of thing, where they put in a response and then it saves that all to a file that I can then just look at at a glance. So let's go ahead and set something like that up. Alright, so we're going to start with the hashtag include IOStream. We'll be using this for quite some time. And then on line 6, because we have all these comments up here, on line 6 we'll say using namespace standard. Okay, and then we'll enter down so that we can get some space between our code, some white space to help it flow better in the eye. And we're going to go ahead and make our function, which we'll just call main as is convention. Okay, so this is where we usually start. We usually start right in here inside the main function, and then we write our code. We're going to do things a little different. We're going to go to line 7 and press enter a few times, and I'm going to go back up to line 8. That's just going to help create that white space that I like between the preprocessors, the main function, and what we're about to make, which is the class. So we're going to put a comment and say this line is a class constructor. Well, not a class constructor. This line is a class declaration. So to create a class, we say class, and then we need to name it. Now, we may not know what a class is right now, but as we go on and we see how it's made and how it's used, it should become obvious what a class is. So if you're feeling a little confused right now, or a little lost, or you feel like you should know something that you don't, you're doing just fine. Don't worry about it. Just keep on watching. So we have class, and we need to name it. I'm going to go with my previous example of the student information. And whenever we name a class, convention is for the first letter to be capitalized. So I'm going to say this class is student. And then we're going to use curly braces and end it with a semicolon. We use a semicolon on our class and not our function because the class is technically a data type, whereas the function is a function. We haven't talked about functions and their uses yet, and classes are kind of a little bit ahead of where we're supposed to be, but I think it's good knowledge to have for the projects that we have coming up. So let's go ahead and click inside of our curly braces and press enter a few times. There we go. Alright, so let's go ahead and start listing off some attributes that students have. An attribute is something that defines or individualizes something. In this case, that something is a student. So every student has an age, and age is an integer. So we'll say that. Every student has a name, and a name is a string. Let's see. Every student has a height. And now I want to be a little pedantic. I want to work in metric. So we'll say that we have their height in meters. For example, I am 1.75 meters tall. And we'll use me as an example whenever we go through this. So let's do, if I'm 1.75 meters tall, I'm not an int, I'm a float. I put floats up there, that's wrong. I'm a float because I'm a decimal. So we're going to say float height, and we want to be descriptive with our variable names so that we and others know what the heck is going on in our code. Because if we don't know what's going on in our code, no one else knows what's going on in our code. Sometimes that's good, like if you're working in like high secret corporate stuff, but we're in a public school, so I mean, we're good. So height in meters, and we'll end that with a semicolon. And then, let's see, let's one more thing. Let's do string eye color. There we go. So for both of these, line 13 and line 14, you can see that I've chosen to camel case it. Now, the casing doesn't matter. It doesn't have any effect on the string, but whenever you call upon it later, it must be written the exact same way as it is right here. Alright, so let's go ahead and go to our main. I'm going to enter down a few times. And so up here, we have a class data type. This is no different from having another data type like, say, int 5 equals 5. So these two, by their nature, are pretty much the same thing. They're both a data type. Sure, this one has more information in it than this one, but they're still both data types. So inside of main, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this name and I'm going to create a new instance of it. So you can think of this kind of like a template, right? Like it has a spot for the student age, has a spot for the student name, has a spot for their height, has a spot for their eye color. But we're not going to change these base values. Instead, we're going to make copies of this class and manipulate those. So let's go ahead and throw in a comment. We will say this line uses an object constructor to create a new instance of the student class. Whew, that is a loaded sentence. So let's break that down. The name student is our object constructor. So I'm going to say student. And we can throw comments within our code. The compiler will just ignore it. So we can say this is the object constructor. Okay? So it's like saying, hey, build this. Or you can think of it as the instructions to build something. So we're going to say student and then student 1. Oh, we're still in the comment, aren't we? Let's do a multi-line comment. We can kind of hack the system with our multi-line right here. There we go. Yeah. And then student 1. This is the new student object. So student 1, well, let's go ahead and add that in a comment. Student 1 is the thing we will be manipulating or changing. Okay, so let's say I want to change student 1's age. So let's say set student 1 age. Now I could just hypothetically, I could just say age equals 17. Well, let's run that and see what happens. All right, expected. Okay, where's that at? Oh, yeah, right here. I forgot my semicolon. Let's run it again. Get the right error. So, yeah, here we go. On line 23, we have an error, the undeclared identifier age. So what that's saying is that age exists nowhere that it can see. So sure, we have int age under student, but we don't have the right path, as it were, to access this age. So what we have to do is we have to look back at our object name, and then we have to attach that to age. And the way we do that is through something called dot notation, and a dot is just a period. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the student1 object name, we're going to put it in front of age, and put a dot. So we're saying student1 dot age. Because student1 is a copy of student, the code should look into student and see that there's age there and change that to 17. Will that work? Let's find out. No, it doesn't. Because right here on line 23, again, we have error. Age is a private member of student. And so right here it's saying, hey, I can't change this because I don't have access to it. Whenever we have a data type like a class, we have to specify to the program whether it's going to be public or private. Right now it's private. We can see that it says private. No implicitly declared private here. So private means that nothing in the program can access it unless explicitly told to. This isn't explicit. So what we can do is we can go into our student class, press enter, make a new line, and we can say, hey, this is all public now, and put a colon there to let the program know that everything after this colon is public, which means that everything in the code has access to this as long as it uses the right pathway. Let's run that again. All right, look at that. We get no errors. That means our code must have worked, right? How can we tell, though, if our code worked? Remember, we rely on input and output for our usings of software. Without input or output, what's the point of software? So we're going to enter down after student1.age, and let's change one more thing, and then we'll do an output. So student1.name. Let's say their name. I'm going to change age to 31. Let's make this about me. I like making things about me. Don't we all? So student1.name, I'm going to change that to Jake. That's Mr. Jake to y'all. Boop. All right, there we go. Now, let's add one more thing. Let's do a cout statement. If you recall, cout is the way that we do output to the console. It doesn't stand for console out, it stands for character out. So we're going to say cout. There we go. Hi, my name is, and then we're going to call on student1.name. My name is student1.name. Then we'll continue our string. And I am student1.age years old. So what we should see is printed on the console, hi, my name is Jake, and I am 31 years old. Let's see if that works. Hi, my name is Jake, and I am 31 years old. I forgot my space right here. There we go. And it's just like that. So here's your assignment. Actually, I'm just going to comment this out. Your assignment, should you choose to accept it. I'm joking. You have no choice. Ha ha ha. Your assignment. Can I spell assignment? I'm a real teacher. Do you guys know that? Your assignment is to complete student 1 and output the information. Let's be a little bit more narrow. Complete student 1 by assigning appropriate values to age, name, height in meters, and eye color. And then output the information. That is the assignment for today using the class and the data types. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. Elseways, best of luck to you.